You're listening to a Life in Quebec podcast. For more, visit lifeinquebec.com.
So, we're joined now by Quebec comedian Mike Paterson. Mike, thanks for speaking to Life in Quebec.
This is me. This is what life in Quebec looks like.
Good man. Okay, so how did you get into comedy? Where did it all begin?
I was, oh my God, I was like 18 or 19. I just got out of theater school. I went to theater school to learn how to write plays because that's what I thought I was going to do.
Yeah.
Then I started building a theater because I didn't have any money. I built a theater in a art studio with some coffee can lights, and I built my own stage, and I put on a play. Then these comedians came by, and they were like, oh, man, we should do sketch here. And I was like, okay, can I join you? And they were like, yeah, but you got to do stand-up. And I started doing stand-up, and I loved it. It was great.
That's wonderful.
Happy that happened. Yeah.
So is that? Did you develop your humour, while you were growing up at school, and then thought, yeah, I'm going to do this, or obviously?
I was a big fan of Kids in the Hall. And
yeah.
I wanted to be the Kids in the Hall. I wanted to be a sketch guy, and I wanted to write plays. I wanted to write serious plays, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, exactly. I've written a bunch of plays, but they're mostly lip-synced musicals. So yeah, basically, that's what I ended up doing. Just fell into stand-up. I ended up really liking it. I was always called alternative for like my first 10 years. All the stand-ups were like, you're alternative. And I'm like, okay. And then now I feel like I'm the regular normal guy. So I don't know. Go figure.
So, I mean, comedy's changed a hell of a lot since you came on the scene, hasn't it?
It really has, but I guess I'm lucky. I just am this kind of weird outside, kind of goofy. I just do like clowny, goofy, silly stuff because I don't really want to get into that whole like we're going to change the world. I'm like I'm going to make everybody laugh a lot, and then their guts will hurt, and then they'll go home.
In addition to the comedy circuit, you've been in films and you're on numerous TV shows. So which of those things do you prefer? What's your favourite?
I think in this economy you got to do all of it, brother. If you don't do everything, you're not in it. Like they always say, jack of all trades, master of none. I'm jack of all trades, master of the universe. This is how I get jobs. I love doing big time films. That was like, I got to do a film with John Malkovich and Buster from Arrested Development and like David Mamet's daughter that basically is never going to come out.
Right.
Like, I spent like 4 months like with these awesome actors doing this cool film, and then it never came out. But it was like one of the best art experiences of my life, and I made a ton of money.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work. It didn't. Hopefully it'll come out. It's called Dominion. I really want it to come out.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like just a bunch of awesome artists doing awesome stuff. But who knows?
But if it doesn't,
I really like doing that.
Okay, now if it doesn't come out, obviously we hope it does. But if it doesn't, you've said you've spent a good few months there with some extremely talented people. You've got to have learnt from that as well, and perhaps you can use that in the future for things.
Oh, 100%. Like, I just basically stood next to John Malkovich and just watched his acting process.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, and I basically do the things that he did. Like, I noticed that he had his own hand-bound book, his own, his script of the movie was basically written out himself. And I'm like, that must have taken weeks. This guy's a genius. And then I realized that he didn't write any of the other people's dialogues down. It was just like a couple of dots and like a blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And he only wrote his own lines down. And that created like a better listening scenario. And I do that all the time now.
Wow.
And then I don't even notice that I'm not like learning lines anymore. I'm just listening to what the people are saying to me, So it's like, that was like a real eye-opener, and it was really fun to work with that guy. He's really as talented and as great as everybody thinks he is.
It sounds it. Now the wrestling side of things, tell me more about. I'm intrigued by this. Tell me more about this.
I'm so stressed out because there's this guy, Scott Parker, who basically cheated Black Dynamite out of the championship belt. And it's so annoying because he's not as good a wrestler as Black Dynamite, but he played politics against us.
Yeah.
And basically, Black Dynamite doesn't have gold around his waist. So, yeah, wrestling is super stressful right now. Bringing it up, Andrew.
Good stuff.
We had to beat 7 other men in the ring last Saturday, and we beat them.
That's awesome.
And, are we going to get a championship? I don't know. So that's one of the more. Right now, we had a great 2 years of wrestling, and now it's really annoying because Scott Jagged Parker. I don't even know what Jagged means. Right? His moniker is not like there's like the Macho Man, the Nature Boy. His moniker is Jagged. So obviously I don't know. He's like a knife. He can catch it.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. He's the champion, and Black Dynamite isn't. It really bothers me.
Well, keep at it. You'll get him eventually, I'm sure. Now, strange question for you, and I ask this to everybody that I speak to. If you had 4 words, and only 4 words, to describe Quebec, what would those 4 words be?
Cool. That's a cool question.
I know.
4 words to describe Quebec.
Yep. 4 words. That's all you got.
Just off the top of my head?
Yep.
Isolation, awesomeness, multicultural, and culture.
Yeah, that's kind of 3. Come on, give us another.
I would say cheese.
Okay. All right, that'll do.
The things, I really like the cheesy way that we don't have to be the United States or the rest of Canada. Maybe awesome, not Ontario cheesiness.
Yeah, I don't think that's cheesy not to be compared to the States. I think that's commendable, don't you?
It's really good cheese here. Like, basically, I eat cheese constantly now. It's just it's like an obsession with my wife and I. We just go to cheese shops, and we're just like, ooh, what do you got for me today, bro?
Well, listen, when you're coming into Quebec City, you and me are going for cheese, because I'm a cheeseaholic.
Man, I would love to do that.
Let's do this.
Love that.
Which brings me on to the next thing. You will soon be performing at the 2017 Comedy Har Festival in Quebec City between the 7th and the 18th of June. How did you get involved in this year's festival?
Well, I've been doing it for a while now, right? Like, this was, the Comedy Har Festival was my first big break.
Yep.
Do you know about this?
No, well, I do, but, tell me more.
It was awesome. Like, basically, I was sitting at a comedy club talking to a waitress who's a comedian, and somebody called her up to audition for Quebec City. And then they were like, who's there? They were like, Mike Paterson's there. The guy was like, you should get Mike Paterson to come. And I was like, I don't want to go, bro. My French sucks. I'm embarrassed. I'll look like a loser. And they're like, we'll give you money and a hotel room. And I was like, what? To audition for TV? What? And then I went. It was awesome. I got to see, Francois Belfoyle was there, and Riel Beland was there, and, all these, dudes, these awesome dudes were there. And then I made it. Yeah. And then I got to be on TV, and then Riel Beland was the host of my TV show, Comedy Ha, Comedy Club, which is now Traits to Humor. Mm-hmm. And I got a show on Music Clips.
Oh, that's wonderful.
26 episodes of a show on, my 9th time doing shows in French.
Oh, good stuff.
So, getting into stand-up comedy, how I was dragged in by those other comedians, I literally was, taken by the hand, by these people, by, Etienne Dano, and, these people were just so nice. And, and at the time, all of my friends had moved to New York or Toronto, and I like to write a lot of comedy. I like to try out stuff, and I just didn't have any contemporaries that were in my city that were doing, super high-level comedy, and then you're just like, oh, wow, I'm going to do a show next to Mike Ward. That's crazy. His thing is so good, or Francois Belfoyle, or all these people, Francois Boulian. So, this guy's, constantly doing cool stuff. Or Julien Tremblay. I basically toured all of Quebec. Julien Tremblay brought me everywhere in Quebec, and it was just so cool. So I really like going back there. The Quebec City audiences are really awesome, and I've been doing it in English, which is really cool lately. So it's weird because I just did the Carnival Festival. I did 18 shows.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I don't know if you saw any of those.
I didn't. I'm afraid.
It was like the first time I had ever been to Carnival, and it was just awesome. Like I basically got to go and perform for around 100 people 18 times.
Yeah.
And it was really cool, and it was in English, and everybody, I'd say 75% of the audience were French people who were bilingual, pushing themselves to listen and down, and just cool, you know, like really cool kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I always expected, like, pushback when you're going to be speaking English in Quebec, but they're like, bring it on, brother. And and sometimes I speak in French, sometimes I speak in English.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a really neat little, it's a neat kind of revolution of language that's going on. It's really kind of cool. That's going all the way from Toronto all the way to Newfoundland. So
you've got,
I don't know, like, and I actually did this stuff in Edmonton. So like, it's all over Canada, man.
Now, you know, but you know, doing stuff in English in the city. Jerry Seinfeld has been here, and he went down very well. Whoopi Goldberg's been here; she was superb. You know, last year you had Mike Ward doing stuff in English. You had Sugar Sammy here, so. Really, you've sort of half answered my next question, but as a comedian who performs in English, what attracted you to the idea of putting on a show in English in arguably one of the world's most French cities, which is what Quebec City is, isn't it?
It really is, but it's definitely it's a destination city, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people go there as a destination, and sometimes you're from Connecticut and you want to see a show. And then what are you going to see? And then it was like this winter, I met all kinds of. Last summer, I did shows in English too, and it was pretty awesome. You got to meet some Americans, some British people, Australians, and just people who live in the city who speak both languages. You know, so and some people that work there. I know Ubisoft has an office there. So there's like a lot of like people who work in English who are just kind of like, you know, they want some English culture a little bit. So that's kind of fun. So I don't know. They were like, hey, you want to do it? And I'm a real yes man.
Well, you know, there's
the comedy. When it comes to the Comedy Hot Festival, I just think it's awesome. They put me one time in this pizza place called the Boudoir, and I did a show, and they gave me a pizza. And I was just like, oh, I'm glad I said yes, because I got a pizza. So if you say yes, good things will happen, like pizza.
Well, the Boudoir is now the Comedy Har Club. So,
I know. I've been back a couple of times.
I know.
But so the first time I did it, it was literally like the first time I did like a full dedicated half-hour show, just me, in French. And it was just like, oh, wow, these people all bought tickets to see me speak in the language I don't know how to speak. I'm going to get a pizza. So it was literally one of the best moments of my career.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I got to feel really good about my comedy. I got to eat pizza, which is really great.
So it's a win-win then, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And at the Boudoir Comedy Club, they give you chips on the table. Do you know that?
Result. Honestly, that's success. Definitely.
It's total success. It's success for the audience. Anyway, I don't want to only talk about the Boudoir, but that place was awesome.
So, we've got...
Yeah, I definitely love doing shows in English. I definitely love doing bilingual shows. I like whatever language is coming out of my mouth. Yeah. It's really cool. I did some shows in Jamaica, and we didn't know who was going to be there, and there was about 48 people were Quebecois. Yeah. And there was like this table of 12 from Thunder Bay. Wow. And it was just like, too bad for you, Thunder Bay. We're doing this show in French. And then the Thunder Bay people were like, I actually understood that. I understand French. Oh, I feel good. And then everybody feels good, and we bring Canada together.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, listen, the Comedy Har Festival this year, there's 450 artists coming to town for an 11-day period. There's over 100 shows. Why should people come and see yours?
Because I'm the best. I'm pretty darn funny. Ask anybody who's seen one of my shows, and I don't want to, like, build it up too much, but it's kind of like Star Wars, WrestleMania, the IMAX. Yeah. It's like comedy at the IMAX when you watch a Mike Paterson show, except it's just me. But it seems like I'm 90 feet tall, and there's no fireworks, but the jokes coming out are like fireworks, and it's kind of like Star Wars and WrestleMania and the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day and love all together in one single package, brother, because it's that darn good.
Well, there's a ton of us looking forward to it. I can tell you that. We're looking forward to seeing you in Quebec City. Do you want to give your Comedy Har show a plug? Let's do it. Come on, give it a plug.
I thought I just did. It's literally the greatest show you'll ever see. Well, I don't know if it's the greatest. Like, probably, yeah. Definitely the Mike Paterson experience is going to be fantastic. I'm going to talk about love, death, finances, all kinds of crazy things. And I now have 2 cartoons on the air, so I'm doing a lot more crazy voices, which I find very enjoyable these days. And it's literally the greatest. It's going to kick all kinds of ass. And I'm doing so many shows. I'm going to do another Traits of Humor today this year.
Good stuff.
It's going to be really great. So you'll be able to see what I'm doing on the TV before it gets on the TV, which is kind of exciting.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing it. And Mike, thank you so much for speaking to Life in Quebec. And everybody out there, you can catch him at the Comedy Har Show Festival in Quebec City between the 7th and the 18th of June.
Thank you for listening to a Life in Quebec podcast. For more news, editorials, and opinion, visit lifeinquebec.com.